For the best information, inspiration, and advice on how to get healthy and fit after 40, W. Tucker will interview national experts in exercise, training, diet, nutrition, mindfulness, and all aspects of healthy living to help you live longer, better. So now, here's your host, W. Tucker.
Hello, hello, hello. It is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we have a fantastic guest today, Lynn Darby. She is a nutrition and fitness coach who specializes in working with millennials who sit at what did I say wrong? Say
millennials. That's fine. I do work with people of all ages, but I specialize with people 40 to retirement.
40 to retirement.
So Gen Xers.
So why did I say millennials? And this is not my audience. Yes, got it. Who sit at a computer desk for work and who are looking to get their health back. And that's okay. So she also approaches nutrition and fitness from the perspective of nutritional inhibiting chronic stress.
Inhibiting chronic stress.
Yes, which has been proven to disrupt nutrition and lifestyle habits. Fantastic. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Sorry to correct you, but
No,
I want to make sure
I
we're
love
talking
that.
to our over 40 folks, right?
Yeah, so I don't know why I said millennials. So yes, so actually starting a podcast with mistakes like that is a wonderful start.
We're real.
Believe it or not, we're real. Yes, exactly right. So anyway, so tell us a little bit about your kind of early life and kind of how you might have related to that subject when you were, or thought about it when you were early.
Right. So Steve Jobs says that when you kind of look forward, you can't see where you're going, but looking back, you can connect the dots to see how you've gotten where you are.
Right.
So
exactly.
When I was very young, I was, really bookish and academic, and I liked science, and I had a little science fair project.
What was that?
I experimented on my gerbils on a nutrition question: is the USRDA enough? And so this was
you did this early on, right?
Yeah, this was in the 70s. I took that to State Science Fair when I was 10. So I already had an idea that nutrition and health, and of course the gerbils who had their regular kibble were fine, healthy little gerbils.
Right.
But the ones that had more of a natural diet of seeds and nuts and like whole food, analogous, they were just a little bit more energetic, a little bit more glossier of coat, right? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. My little 10-year-old brain, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But looking back on it, I'm like, that's kind of profound to think about. Not many people were even considering quality of food in the 70s.
Exactly. So, nobody was. So that was very forward of you.
So that's like the most furthest back thing I can remember that's related to nutrition. But when I was in high school, I was taking an anatomy class, and I started to realize that the muscle and tissue in the human body was not different than the muscle and tissue in animal bodies. And I started to become vegetarian at the age of 16. So while I was in high school, and we lived in...
So that was probably unusual for a high schooler too, right?
It was unusual for a young person. I didn't have any friends or know anyone who was vegetarian. It just came to me. And also, we were in the South, in Atlanta, and that wasn't a thing. Like, I didn't know what I was doing.
Atlanta, it was definitely not a thing.
Yeah. So that was in the 80s, in the late 80s. And then when I kind of got out on my own and I was taking college classes and I was living on my own, I started buying my own food, and I just moved away from eating meat pretty quickly altogether. Mm-hmm. So I've been vegetarian for over 30 years now.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, but I didn't know how to eat. But fortunately, I was working at a library, and there was like a whole wall of vegetarian cookbooks. And so a whole new world was opened up to me with like culinary ideas.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, fantastic. So we're going to be back in just a minute with Lynn Darby, and this is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we will be right back.
Be calling, I should be playing it cool.
All right. W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we are here with Lynn Darby. And she's, during the break, we said, so there's this little more history that she wants to talk about and some challenges. So what's that?
Yeah, so I was in college, and I went in a different direction than science ultimately. I started going into more kind of like accounting and administration.
Wow.
So I had an office job, and I thought, this is great. I'm going to be in a nice, safe office, you know, in kind of a luxurious environment indoors, working with a computer, with my brain, and this is going to be awesome.
So was this Atlanta?
It was started in Atlanta, and I started moving around the country.
Okay.
So I've lived in the Midwest, around the South, in Colorado. And so I had a desk job, basically.
Right.
And little did I know that great, safe job was slowly eroding my health through extended sitting. But it happened so slowly, you know, creeping weight gain, which I could always attribute to other things because no one was really talking about sitting at that time. But the moment came when the economy turned and I got laid off.
Wow.
And because I had eroded my health through sitting, I had gained a substantial amount of weight, and I didn't have very many like coping skills to deal with stress. It really, you know, my life kind of just went sideways and crumbled. I lost my job, I lost my house, my marriage failed, my health really started to fail.
Wow.
And
all in one short period of time.
I lost nearly 100 pounds in a course of about maybe 14 months, so not in a good way.
Wow.
I ended up moving back to Michigan with my parents, and they were just so sweet to let me kind of sit there on the farm and pull myself together.
Right.
So because my health had eroded and I was like emotionally distraught, and now I was like really weak from having lost so much weight, the emotional devastation, I was like,
so
I don't know what I'm going to do.
It was emotional weight loss, not intentional.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Through the stress. And now it had been chronic stress from the sitting and
Right.
now acute stress from distress
Right.
from the circumstances that happened.
Sure.
So I started working on my nutrition again because that's where I knew where to start. I was like, okay, if my weight I wanted to stabilize. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do a little bit of workouts to rebuild my muscle mass and tone and endurance, and I know that's supposed to help with mood too. And that helped a little bit. I did stabilize.
So you kind of figured all this out on your own,
on
sort
my
of.
own.
Right.
But then I told you I bounced around. I decided I could be, you know, marginally employed in tropical South Florida. So I went down there and like, okay, some sun in my eyes. I'm just going to, you know, relax in the environment. And I started working on stress. And when I realized that there was exercises that I could do to build resilience to stress, really everything came back together and it all changed for me.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. So a lot of that you did on your own, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, and then I started to more formalize it. I decided I really wasn't going to go back into the corporate environment.
Right.
I was going to, because I had spent so much time and energy and gotten certifications to, you know, for my own health. I was like, why don't I just take this for other people who've been in a situation that I've been in, I'm familiar with,
right,
and help them avoid having that breakdown that I did.
Right.
Because with sitting, it causes metabolic distress, it has mood implications, and you can avoid that. So I think people going into their 40s really are at turning a corner, and you can't be complacent after that.
Sure, absolutely. All right, that was fantastic, Heather. We will be right back. This is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we'll see you on the other side. All right. W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40. We're back with Lynn Darby, and she's going to now talk about some advice that she's got for the over 40 crowd, which is us.
That's right. So some of the easiest things to do when you turn 40, your metabolism kind of slows, your muscle mass starts to decrease, and it's easier to see that creeping weight gain. And especially when people reach that point in their career, they're probably at a desk job working at a computer.
Sure.
So that extended sitting really compounds this issue.
Sure. So when I turned 38, I had this incredible weight gain that was not aware. I wasn't aware of it.
That's right.
You know, and I think that same thing that you said when you were sitting at that desk all that time, it's sort of a creeping weight gain that you're not really aware of. And it happens at about that age, right? 35 to 40 is kind of the first time you may experience that.
That's right. And the reason is probably, because of hormonal shifts. It's very prominent in women, but it's definitely there in men too. Things start to change.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Your metabolism slows down.
That's right.
Right.
And muscle mass changes, and your environment changes. Your energy levels kind of change.
Sure.
So one of the easiest things to do is break up that sitting.
Yes.
It's going to keep your metabolism from slowing down while you're seated, as well as, just...
So how do you do that?
Stand up.
Stand up.
Yeah.
Very easy. Stand up.
Right.
Like every hour? I mean, what's your...
I would say about every 10 to 15 minutes, just kind of change positions a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe take a little bit of a... So I look at things through the lens of chronic stress. So there's the stress reaction, the fight and flight, and there's the rest and digest, which is the opposite side of that.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard the rest and digest.
Oh, yeah. So when you have one on high, it inhibits the other. So in order to inhibit chronic stress, you want to stimulate the rest and digest. And the easiest way to do that is by unslouching your shoulders and taking a deep, slow breath.
Pulling your shoulders back.
That's right.
And then taking a deep breath.
Right. So when we're working at computers, we're chronically hunched over a little bit. Our lungs are compressed. Our head has a forward position from our shoulders, and that creates some physiological stress, the not breathing and the posture position.
Wow.
So the easiest thing to do is kind of just sit up, reset your posture back, and the parasympathetic breaths that stimulate that rest and digest response, the exhales are slower than the inhales. So if someone
just
really
naturally?
Just naturally. Maybe if you inhale for a count of 4, you would exhale for a count of 5 or maybe 6. If I'm doing breathing workshops with people, the way we start to recognize this is to imagine that you're just blowing on a candle flame, but it won't blow out. That's how slow. And how long can you extend that exhale?
So that's an exercise you do with people. It's a breathing exercise.
Yeah. So when they're doing their parasympathetic exercises for stress, that's an exercise. In your daily flow of your workday, just a couple slower breaths where you're exhaling for 6 is perfectly sufficient.
Oh wow! So just a couple times.
Just a few times.
And every couple hours? Or?
10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And on that same time frame, this is very helpful, especially for people who are working with computer screens.
Sure.
Every 20 minutes, so maybe about on the same schedule, look up from your computer screen 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds.
Just to get your eyes off and raise your head.
And raise your head. Right. And you can take your breath during that time. You can reset your posture. Maybe stand up and do a little stretch at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people, even though they may not work in corporate offices, still are in front of a computer. Even if they're at home, like they work from home, they're still doing that same thing, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so it's not just the corporate world.
No, it's anyone who is seated at their... You know what? It can even be like gamers.
Right.
It can even be like sitting in front of your TV watching Netflix after dinner.
Right. Right, same kind of thing.
Yeah, get up and stand up every 15, 20 minutes.
Every 15, 20 minutes, okay. So that's great advice. That is great advice. So, and that's not hard to do. You just kind of have to be aware that you shouldn't be sitting for hours at a time without getting up.
It is awareness and creating habits and creating your environment that makes those habits the easiest thing to do.
Right. So, great. Okay, so what else? What other things might you advise us to do?
So working on prevention, making sure that you stay hydrated, and especially in the South, we're in Texas, it's deceptively dehydrating to be in an air-conditioned building. You're not necessarily sweating, but it's still dehydrating you. So being sure to drink that 8 glasses of water a day. That's a pint glass.
So
glass.
how many ounces is that per day?
Well, it would be about
60?
60, 64.
Okay.
That's like 2 big liter bottles.
2 big liter bottles, right. In fact, that's what I do. I buy the 33-ounce waters, and I drink 2 a day.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that automatically gets you up a couple times an hour to go to the bathroom.
Absolutely. I know where every bathroom in Dallas is.
That's right. and that's part of setting up your environment, too. It makes it the easiest thing to do to get up and change position because
Yes.
you're tagging it onto something else. Oh, I drank my water, now I go to the restroom.
You're
I
right.
fill up my water.
Right.
Now I just keep working.
Right. It really does. It does sort of keep you up and about more than just sitting at a computer for an hour. So, and I can't do that anyway. So I may be naturally trained.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good. So it's interesting. Even in an air conditioned office, you're dehydrating.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
See, I didn't even know that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's taking the humidity out of the air of the interior of the building.
Right, and that's how it cools it.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Okay, cool. All right. So we're going to be back in just a minute, more with Lynn Darby, and this is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we'll see you in a second. All right. It is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we're here with Lynn Darby, and she said the magic word that we're going to talk about now, and that's food.
Ooh, I love food.
We all do.
Right? So when you have had this creeping weight gain, right? And people start to realize they
and I
can't
think it happens to a lot of people at the age of 40 and above.
It does. And things don't work like they used to. You can't just kind of go on a hardcore diet like you could when you were younger and have those results.
Right.
Also, going on a hardcore diet and losing a bunch of weight really fast will have kind of repercussions.
Right.
It will mess with your hormones that cause you to be hungrier later. That's why many people yo-yo back up.
Up and down, right.
So when I'm working with people, and what I did for myself is start to slow down the eating of each meal, chew more thoroughly, take a longer time during each meal so that it starts to satisfy better.
Because it takes a while for that appetite suppression to come into effect.
Yeah, about 20 minutes. And if you're chewing slower, like you're not eating less, eat as long as you want. It's not like a 20-minute limit. Try to make it last 20 minutes or longer.
Just so that
Right.
So you get satisfied
So
and
you
don't
get
keep
satisfied.
eating.
And even if you don't change what you're eating at all, just slowing down will cause some changes. Slowly but surely, it'll change the trajectory of where you're headed. When you want to take it up to the next level, I would say, we mentioned I'm vegetarian, so
Right.
I have a little bit of a bias toward this.
Sure, because you've been doing it for 30 years.
But when I'm working with people, I'm diet agnostic. Everyone has their own best food array that satisfies them, that meets their cultural needs, that meets their energy needs, that they enjoy, that they know how to cook, things like this. So when I'm working with people, I'm like, all you need to do is add another vegetable. Eat more.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting. So you're not trying to mess with somebody's cultural food or kind of what they like, because that will be sort of lead to disasters in terms of them not following it, right?
I at least always start out with how to eat before we even start talking about what to eat.
Sure.
Right.
Like what we just talked about.
Yeah, so going slower, maybe eating to only 80% full if you're trying to change your weight, something that's very subtle and on internal cues instead of external cues.
Right.
You know, am I hungry? Am I satisfied? How long did that meal last for me till I got hungry again?
Oh, that's interesting.
And these are habits that take a long time to ingrain.
Right.
So, but when you're doing things like eating vegetables, you don't really have to worry about it. It kind of takes care of itself.
You can kind of eat almost as much vegetables as you want and be okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's extra benefits to eating vegetables, and that's the fiber, which feeds our microbiome. They're finding out so much about this these days.
Yeah. Gut health is a big issue.
Big issue.
Right.
It speaks directly to immunity, to our moods through the enteric nervous and the vagus nerve, which is completely from the body up to the brain information.
Sure.
So taking care of that gut microbiome is super important.
And vegetables can provide all that sort of gut health stuff that you need?
Yes, and in fact, this is my favorite thing. Different kinds of vegetables have different kinds of fibers, and different bacteria in our gut like them. Mm-hmm. So having more different kinds of vegetables, a wider variety, is going to create a wider diversity of gut bacteria, which makes you more resilient.
Oh, wow. So what are some of your favorite vegetables?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, potato is my favorite food from all time from being a child, and my parents would know this.
Wow. And potatoes are great.
I love potatoes.
Yeah.
But I also like other kinds of, I experiment. I go to a grocery store and I'll be like, I don't really know what this thing is. I'm going to take a picture of it and look it up and find a recipe. Mm-hmm. So I've experimented with all kinds of stuff. But standout favorites are like eggplant, zucchini, tomatoes.
Wow. So I went
regular familiar things.
Yeah. I went to a Korean grocery the other day, and I was like fascinated by all the wide variety of stuff they have that I'd never seen or heard of.
Yeah.
So they eat lots of vegetables.
Yeah, my Instagram's pretty fun when I have new foods.
Oh, cool. Cool. So you have a big Instagram that you put out and show people what you're eating and what to eat and stuff like that?
I wouldn't say it's big, but it's kind of casual. But I do have like over 100 pictures of regular home cooking that I feed to my family, you know,
oh, cool.
Me and my husband.
So one of the things that you do just for yourself and your clients is show them recipes or help them figure out what's good things to eat in addition to maybe to what they're already eating, right?
Well, I take it from a habit-based approach.
Sure.
So we look at their goals, and I ask them, where do you think you need to start? What ideas do you have? Mm-hmm. And we go through a variety of habits, and they interpret it to their own situation. So when we're talking about vegetables, how many vegetables are you eating now? When we're talking about more of the starchier vegetables that people love to call carbs now, I'm like,
right.
What does that look like in your life? You know?
Right.
How do you want that to look? What do you think will happen if you do something?
I think that's a great approach, is not to say here's what you need to eat, but mm-hmm. ask them what suggestions do you have about your own diet. I think that's great. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great way to start, because then somebody's much more inclined to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be like start out as you're going to continue.
Sure.
You know,
yeah.
If your weight is going to change, your body is going to want to stay in equilibrium.
Sure.
So changing to make it lose weight and then changing again to try to maintain it is going to be really difficult. So if you start out doing something that you can maintain consistently, then you can make decisions. It's almost like a scientific experiment, right? I'm going to try to change this one element, and I'm going to do it consistently, and then at a certain time frame, I'm going to check and see what happened.
Right.
Did it move me closer or further away, or did I enjoy it? Can I keep on doing this? Or,
right.
You know.
That's a great way to do it. So a little bit we talked about was stress. So what do you want to say about stress with all this?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about resilience of the gut. And resilience in any area physiologically flows over into other areas. So if you're having emotional stress, people can be familiar with this. If you're having emotional stress, you might have butterflies in your stomach. If you have greater resilience in your microbiome, you're more resilient to emotional stress. When you work out, you kind of physically stress your muscles and then recover from it, and then you're stronger. The resilience that you're building in your muscles also has a spillover effect into other areas where you might encounter stress. So I always when people have a problem and they're like, usually it's a problem, they're just like, I need to change something. I figure out where is going well in their life, and I double down on that and create more resilience in that area, and then let the other things start to come into homeostasis based on that input that's less stressful. So when we're working out, I work with people for a parasympathetic response. Instead of getting like super high intensity, I try to make sure that their heart rate stays at a level where they can breathe through their nose, and that way they're not as sore and they don't like resist
the next time. Right.
Or it has to be further apart. Like even if they're like, I really enjoyed it, I love my sore, but I can't work out again for 4 days. What if you could work out 4 times a week instead of, twice every
one big time.
Yeah,
right.
one big time.
Right.
So that'll make a bigger difference in the long run, more time under training.
Sure, and you'll be less resistant because maybe you didn't get sore.
Right. So, and keeping the breath through your nose makes your body say, okay, things are in a state of normal. I'm not in an aroused state of stress. This is okay. And when your body's in a state of stress, it keeps some in reserve, right? And so that in case it's a true emergency, you have to keep going. So you can never really get to your potential.
Okay.
If you're not stressing your body, you can come much closer to your potential.
Right. All right.
In my experience.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So, all right. This is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we will be right back with Heather Lynn Darby and All right. It is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we're back with Heather Lynn Darby, and she's going to talk about what she does for folks. So let's talk about that.
Awesome. Thank you. So I am a nutrition coach and fitness strategist.
Right.
I have an online coaching practice, which is at my website, heatherlynndarby.com.
Boy, that's easy.
It really is. It's easy to remember if you know me.
Yeah.
And everything I'm about to say can be linked from this site.
Okay, cool.
So I have nutrition and fitness for busy professional resources. It's a downloadable. People can get there. There's also links to my private Facebook community. It's called Excellent Vitality Experiment.
So Excellent's the name of your company.
It is. It's actually my nickname from way back in the day. Before there was the web, there was Usenet. And it was my Usenet handle.
Usenet. Oh, my God. Who remembers that?
I know, right? So that was my Usenet handle.
And it's spelled?
XLNT.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
There's a little story behind that. It's kind of funny. But I was making baby bead jewelry, and there was no vowels. So I was like, oh, this actually speaks to resilience. How funny. There was no vowels, so I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to sound something out. And so I put together 4 little letters, and it sounded like excellent. And I'm like, great. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so you can kind of use what you have available to you, right? So when it came time to start this business and start this coaching practice, I was thinking about branding and all those things of the internet businesses, internet coaching, and I was like, why am I worrying about this? I already have a personal brand.
Right. Right, fantastic.
So, and everyone can have excellent nutrition and fitness.
Sure.
If you build awareness, and, that's another thing. So nothing really changes through just knowledge alone. Mm-hmm. There's an infinite amount of information on, what people could do. And, in fact, I hear people say this all the time. I know what to do. I just don't know why I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So that's where coaching comes in.
That is a very, very, very common thing.
Yeah. Learning how to implement those behavior changes and get where you want to go ultimately, takes action steps.
Yes.
And
so talk a little bit more about your services.
Right. So I have a coaching program called Rest and Digest. So it's a 2-part, a 4-month program. It's Rest and Digest Intensive, and then an additional 8 months Rest and Digest Mastermind. And this is semi-private coaching. It's completely online. I meet people on Zoom, and they have their own private platform that they can get their nutrition lessons. It's like a daily little podcast for them, as well as their personalized workouts. So from any device, so they can take it wherever they go. If they want to work out at home, outdoors, if they're traveling, if they have a gym membership, it's always there with their personal coach.
It always works for any of those.
Yeah, and they can message me on the platform as their personal coach 24/7. I'll get back to you when I read it.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. So tell us your not your podcast, your website one more time.
Oh, it's heatherlynndarby.com.
Do we need to spell that, or will people figure that out?
I think I can spell it.
Okay.
Heatherlynndarby.com.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Heather. It has been such fun to have you, and so informative too, so thanks.
Oh, it's been a pleasure to chat with you.
Yes, very much. So this is W. Tucker with Healthy and Fit After 40, and we will see you next time in just a couple of days.
Thanks for joining us at Healthy and Fit After 40. We want to thank our incredible guest and ask you to like and share our podcast if you've gotten value from listening. You can do that by going to our website, healthyandfitafter40podcast.com, and the same name on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you have comments or questions, please email me at wtucker@healthyandfitafter40.com. I'll respond to all comments and answer all questions. Thanks, and stay healthy and fit.